Hi there, my name is Caitlin and I'm a teaching artist at the Wezel Performing Arts Hall. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to try a science experiment to explore why leaves change color in the fall. This is what your experiment will look like. Leaves contain a pigment called chlorophyll. Chlorophyll, along with sunlight, provide plants their food. Chlorophyll is what makes the leaves green. There is so much of it that it covers up all the other colors in the leaves. But in the fall, chlorophyll in the leaves breaks down, allowing the other colors to shine through and show their yellows and oranges and reds. To see what color a leaf would be without all of its chlorophyll, we can separate the colors by doing this science experiment. In this experiment, we will use rubbing alcohol and an energy source in the form of hot water to separate the colors. Okay, let's get started. So first of all, you're going to take your leaves and you're going to rip them up into smaller pieces. They don't have to be a certain size, you're just going to rip them up into smaller pieces and put them into your glass jar. Alright, so now all that your leaves are torn, you're going to want to fill your jar, I would say about 1/2 inch full. So you don't need a bunch of leaves, but enough that you have a good layer on the bottom there. Then you're going to take your rubbing alcohol and you're going to pour that on top of the leaves, enough to almost cover all of them. So again, it's going to be about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch deep of the rubbing alcohol in the bottom of your jar. Then you're going to take your utensil of your choice. It can be a spoon or a wooden dowel, whatever you would like to use. I'm using the end of a wooden spoon just because it helps me get enough pressure in the bottom there to muddle the leaves. And you're going to want to really spend some time mushing your leaves down into the bottom there, stirring them so that they're not that they're like a paste or that they're mushy themselves, but enough that the alcohol is turning green. So it needs to have a slight green tint to it. And once the rubbing alcohol has had a slight green tint to it, you've mushed your leaves enough, you are then going to take a piece of plastic wrap, or you can even use a Ziploc baggie, and you're going to put that over the top of your jar, seal that up, just like that, and you're going to set the jar down in some warm, hot water. It doesn't need to be boiling or anything, just pretty warm to the touch, because the heat from the water is going to be our energy source to have that chemical reaction that we want for this experiment. And you're going to leave that in your water for about 30 minutes minimum. I would say go for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we'll come back. During the 45-minute, half-hour period that you're waiting for this process to occur, come back and give it a swish once in a while. Keep things moving in there and let it sit back down, and we'll come back in a little bit. Okay, so for my jar, it's been about an hour, so I'm going to take the plastic wrap off, and I'm going to take my jar out of the water. And by this point, you should be able to see that the rubbing alcohol in there is pretty green. So you can see in around the leaves in there, the liquid in the bottom should be looking really green. You're then going to take your coffee filter that's just cut into a strip, and you are going to set it down into your jar. I'm going to use a small piece of Scotch tape to keep my coffee filter upright in the jar. Okay, so we've got our coffee filter taped in there, and you can already see where the rubbing alcohol is slowly working its way up the filter, so it's saturating the coffee filter, and the wet line is heading up, and we're just going to leave that there for another hour, and we'll come back and check on it after that. Over the next hour or so, you're going to see the saturation line on your coffee filter climbing higher and higher, and you're going to start to see colors appear as well. You'll start to see maybe greens and yellows as the chlorophyll is being pulled out of the leaves. I would say give it about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, until you start to see color appearing on your coffee filter. Okay, it's been about an hour and 15 minutes for my jar, and you can see that the liquid in the bottom there has gotten really green. I think we could take a look at our coffee filter now. I'm going to carefully peel the tape up, because the coffee filter is very wet now and you don't want to lose your experiment in the bottom of the jar. So I'm going to pull that up very carefully, and you can see the color on our coffee filter. The chlorophyll from the leaves has pulled it out, and you can see the greens and the yellows forming on the coffee filter strip. Depending on your leaf type, what colors do you see? And there you have it. It takes a little bit of time and patience, but it's a super fun and easy experiment to explore why leaves change their color in the fall. The leaves that I used in my experiment come from a tree that turns yellow in the autumn. I encourage you to see if you can find leaves that maybe turn orange or red, and see if you can get those results in your experiment. I was seeing greens and yellows in my leaves, but you might be able to see orange and red in yours. Let us know what you discover on our Facebook page, School Time at the Van Wezel, #ArtworksAnywhere. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.